Hey, good evening, everyone. Good evening. Pastor Dixon here. Let's see, Pastor Dixon, Thomas Dixon, hashtag Dixon for Mayor, Dixon for Mayor 2019, North Charleston. Just plain Thomas. Yeah. Good evening. So I'm going to wait a little while, give some folks a chance to get on. I tagged a lot of folks today. I hope a lot of folks get on. This is the night before the election, and I hope we can get a good turnout this evening. Got a little bit to talk about, primarily dealing with where we need to go as a community. So we're going to wait and let some more folks get on. Brother Robert Bass, what's going on? Dietrich Fleming, how you doing? Evangelist Pat Wright, my brother Nathaniel, SC Hip Hop 100. Man, I really appreciate you coming out yesterday. That's for sure. That's for sure. Thank you so very much. Yeah, it's an interesting time that we're in right now. The night before the general election 2019, where across the low country we're going to be electing new mayors, or we'll be electing mayors and city council people in the city of Charleston and North Charleston. And it's just an exciting time. Diana, how are you doing? Doing well. Good to see you. I want to stop. But it's an exciting time to be in this area, an area that has traditionally been a throwback to generations past, where there's been oppression and suppression, and there's been an over emphasis on privilege, where others were not given a chance at the dream. Well, we're at a time right now in the history of this area that real change not only can happen, but will happen. Change that will involve the betterment of everyone in our community, not just the haves as it's been for a while. For quite a little while, there's been a group that have profited and done extremely well in this environment, but there are others, and a large portion of others, who have suffered for years. And I just believe that the scales of justice have tipped in favor of those who have suffered for years in this area. I believe there's a new day dawning that is going to bring justice, it's going to bring peace, it's going to bring economic prosperity, that's going to create a situation where the people who have not been treated well in this area will be treated well. And not only now in this dispensation of time, but for generations to come. People, change is here. Real change is here. Well, it's a lot of good folks getting on here. Man, I love to see all of y'all. Again, this is Pastor Dixon. I carry a whole bunch of different names. My name is Thomas Dixon. That's going to be what's on the ballot tomorrow, Thomas Dixon. No pastor on there or anything else, okay? Tomorrow is election day. The polls will be open tomorrow from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Please, if you haven't done so already, check and make sure that you are registered to vote. It's too late to register now, unfortunately. At the same place where you go to check whether you're registered, that's scvotes.org, scvotes.org. You'll type in answer a couple of questions about your personal information, name, date of birth, and things of that sort. And then when you hit enter, it tells you where you go to vote. It tells you if you're registered. It tells you where to go to vote. It tells you who the candidates are that you will be selecting. Okay, so please check and make sure that you're going to the right place tomorrow. The biggest thing about tomorrow is to go to the polls. Listen, historically, we have had very, very low voter turnout in our local elections, in our midterm elections even. But the only time that we seem to show up to the polls is when our presidential elections roll around. But the elections that have the biggest impact on our day-to-day lives are our local elections. The elections when we cast our ballot for who's going to run our cities, our mayor and our city councilmen, who's going to run our school board that takes care of our children. Those are all local elections. So if you skip voting and wait on presidential elections, those are important too. But the elections that directly affect you the most are local elections. And guess what, my friends? Tomorrow is one of the most important local elections of your life. If you are a resident of North Charleston, live anywhere in the surrounding areas for North Charleston, or are impacted, have to drive through North Charleston, tomorrow you need to vote like your life depends on it, because it does. For 25 years, folks, the current mayor in North Charleston, he's been in office. I think it's like 6 terms. And I've said it before that he's really built a great city. I'm not going to take that from him. In the aftermath of Hurricane Hugo, he had just a rough landscape to deal with, and he built it. The problem is, though, and where I take odd is that with him is that in 25 years he neglected the largest portion of his city, which are the good people of his city, predominantly people of color and poor. He just neglected helping them. Why? Because I do believe that ultimately they occupy areas of our city that are ripe for profit. And in order to make sure that those profits are brought in, there's a thing called gentrification that creates a system where people are ultimately forced out of their living areas in order to redevelop after buying the land or property very low, and then redevelop and selling high. It's just that simple. So I think that it's by design that we see the south end of North Charleston, where we have people in blighted communities, where we see our schools failed, where we see high guns, drugs, and gangs and crime, where we see that there's not even a grocery store, where we see all of the amenities that it would take just to live from day to day taken away from. Because ultimately, in my understanding, it's about moving those folks out, redeveloping that land, and then making huge amounts of profit off the land. You see, apparently, and I know that the mayor makes it seem really good and everything for the people. He's very masterful at painting that picture. But the reality is that in 25 years' time, he's allowed people to suffer. Who does that? Who does that? Instead of addressing issues such as gun violence. In 2017, we had a shooting in the mall. And we addressed the mayor the next day about it with a press conference. And his response was in a video recorded message to the gunfire that took place in the mall. He said, "We can't raise your kids." Nobody asked him to raise our kids. But we did ask him to do what he swore to do, and that's to serve and protect the community. Saying that we can't raise your kids is not an acceptable answer. And there's many times there are things happen where we get that same brush off, not an acceptable answer. Even when we look at the State of the City address that happens every year in January, it's this pretty picture of North Charleston that many of us, if we look at our day-to-day existence in North Charleston, it doesn't look anything like what he's putting out to the public. Of course, there's a block of his supporters who really want to believe exactly what he says and overlook the fact that there are communities, whole communities of people that are living in poverty, afraid to sit on their porches, and whose children are going to schools that are only setting them up for the school to prison pipeline. You see, that's the real. So it's about time for a change. And tomorrow will be that change. If you've already decided who it is that you want to represent you, and you get up tomorrow and go vote for that person. There's no in between. There's no waiting. There's no more delay. There's no more opportunity. There's no do-overs. This is it. I can't say that enough. This is it. If we're going to take City Hall in North Charleston and turn it around for North Charleston to be a city that is truly of the people, by the people, and for the people, with representatives that represent the people. If we're going to do that, tomorrow's the day to do it. But we need to have an overwhelming outpouring of people going to the polls. We cannot be apathetic about this. We can't sit back and think, well, somebody else is voting, so I don't need to. No, we need everybody. We need folks to pick folks up off the corners that's hanging out at the store, got that brown paper bag in their hand. If they are registered to vote, we need to pick them up and take them to the polls. If everybody takes somebody to the polls, we can do this. We already have a system, a situation in hand where, of course, there are 5 candidates running. 5 candidates. There's the mayor and 4 other candidates running. We need to ensure that one of those candidates has an overwhelming majority of the vote so that there's no questions asked about who the victor is. And that overwhelming majority of the vote needs to go for me. Why? Because I'm the only person that you've seen out here working for you over the years, the only person with documented proof of standing up on behalf of the people in every area where we've been neglected at. And the only person actually who, if you really got a problem going on, you're probably the only person that you reach out and call. You're not going to call the mayor or any of the other candidates. You don't even know their phone numbers, do you? But you can look on my Facebook pages and find my phone number. And I'm accessible 24/7. You see, I'm a public servant. I'm not a politician. That's why you see me in between elections. You see, politicians you only see when it's time for election. If they've been significantly missing in between elections, that's a politician. Public servants, and that's what I am. Get up every day in order to serve. So I'm asking for the support of everyone who's on this live tonight. But I'm also asking for everyone that's on this live to go get somebody else and let them know, man, we got to get to the polls tomorrow, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Go to scvotes.org if you don't know where your precinct is or where you're supposed to go. Vote and get there between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. Take a photo ID with you, please. If you have any problems at the poll voting, listen, if you have any problem at the poll voting and somebody tells you that you cannot vote, ask them for a provisional ballot. A provisional ballot that you will fill out right there and seal it and give it back in there. And I would suggest that you possibly take a picture of it, okay? Because we're going to hold folks accountable. They cannot deny you a vote. That provisional ballot will be ironed out later by the Election Commission. So don't let them tell you that you can't vote. Yes, you can. And I'm going to give you my number right now. If you run into that situation, call me. There's another number that I'll post on my Facebook page. It's an 800 number or a toll-free number that you can call to report it also. And they have legal representatives that are there to help. Brother Elliott, what's going on? There are legal representatives to help. But my number is 843-437-1949. 843-437-1949. So if you're at the polling station and somebody is telling you that you can't vote and you need to report it, you can give me a call. Or, like I said on my Facebook page, I will share the toll-free number. Preferably to call the toll-free number, but in the event that you prefer to call me, I'm cool with that too. That's for sure. Now, 25 years under the hand of an oppressor. It's time for a change, people. It's time for a change. I'm not going to stay long on this live tonight, but I want to talk about a verse of scripture that says that to everything there's a season. Okay, everything is done in seasons. Okay, seasons come and the seasons go. And it also says that there's a time for every purpose under heaven. I know there's some church folks on here. Yeah, I said church. Who know that scripture. And there's some other folks on here who have heard this scripture that says to everything there's a season and there's a time for every purpose under heaven. People, let me just tell you something. After 25 years up under this current mayor, it's time. It's time. It's time for change. You know, on the forum, I think some of you might have heard me say it before, in one of the forums, I just got tired of listening to when the mayor and another candidate were talking. Every time that they started talking, they were talking about what we can't do. I got a problem with that. When people always talk about what we can't do, it doesn't open up the door for what we can do. And I believe that we can. I believe that we need to have the spirit of yes, we can. I need for folks to understand that whatever it is that we're challenged with, whatever area it is that we have not been allowed to succeed in, yes, we can. And not only yes, we can, it's time right now that we did. It's time for us to make sure that our communities are safe again, that the guns are off the street, that the brothers on the block have a different economic base of operation other than the drug game. It's time. It's time for us to make sure that our schools are educating our children. It's time. It's time to demand that of our school district. See, I said that with the forum with the mayoral candidates, and they sort of all chimed in together. Sound like three-part harmony. Oh, that's not the mayor's job. That's out of the mayor's purview. Listen, our children are the mayor's children. You feel me? The mayor is in charge of the well-being of the entire city. And if our children are suffering from lack of education, being set up for prison, if our mayor has 8 of the worst schools in South Carolina, he's not taking care of our children. So it might not be the mayor's job, but it is the mayor's responsibility. And I'm the only one that's running for office right now who has accepted that responsibility without being the mayor. So you have no reason to believe that once I'm the mayor, that I'm going to change from that. The fight will be on. Only thing with enough authority as the mayor to make sure that our school board makes whatever changes necessary in order to educate all of our children. Every last one of them. It's time, people. It's time. It's time for workers in our city to be paid a decent wage. It's ridiculous. And you got people that look down on folks that work in fast food. I couldn't say what I was getting ready. It ticks me off how people look down on folks that work in fast food. But fast food is a multi-billion-dollar, trillion-dollar operation. You know, McDonald's CEO last year gave himself an $8 million raise annually. But they won't pay the workers that's making them Happy Meals and got that drive-through open at 4 and 5 in the morning, won't pay them a decent wage. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. You know, North Charleston is 50% higher than the national poverty level, even though we bring more money into the city than any other city in South Carolina. That's ridiculous. It's time, folks. It's time for the workers of North Charleston to be represented by the head person in North Charleston, the mayor. It's time for North Charleston to have a mayor that will stand up and ensure that every worker, not just the ones who work for the city, but the ones that work throughout the city, the ones who work at every operation here that's able to, not our small businesses, okay? It's going to take a while to get our small businesses up to a level, but every operation or business that can pay a living wage is going to do it. It's going to do it. It's either that or we'll shut them down on the mayor's authority. You ever seen a mayor out here on the picket line? Yes. We'll stand by. This is Pastor Dixon. I ain't scared of nobody. I fear one, and that's God. That's it. I've been out here grinding in them streets. I'm not getting ready to get in the mayor's office and change that. Whatever it's going to take in order to make sure people get paid right, I'm willing to do it. It would be hypocritical of me to move into that office and don't do what I've been doing. It's not what I do. When it comes to our flooding, it's time. How many people do you know that have been living in their homes for years now and have had the same issue with flooding every time there's a drizzle? And they complain to the city about it and the city ignores them. Your life matters to me. Your home matters to me. Your community matters to me. I can't place profit over people. I will always keep your well-being first in my mind and in my operation, no matter what it is. And if we have somebody on council that feels like they want to put profit over people or don't want to understand what I'm doing, then we're going to have issue. We're going to have issue. We're going to put the power back in the hands of the people. Thank you, Lee. I appreciate your help, your support. We're going to put the power back in the hands of the people, where it should have always been. Somewhere along the way, we lost that, though. We lost that. So it's time. I keep saying it. It's time. There's a time for every purpose under heaven, and it's time for the people of North Charleston to take control of their city by electing someone who represents the people, of the people, by the people, and for the people. And no, I'm not a Benya. I was not born in North Charleston. But I tell you what, ain't too many people that were born in North Charleston that have outworked me for social justice in North Charleston. So if the qualification for being elected mayor is that you're born in North Charleston, I say show me the one that's running that was born in North Charleston that's put in the work. Because they ain't there, including the mayor. Well, he wasn't even born in North Charleston. He was born in Cottageville, I do believe. So, for this last about 5 minutes or so, okay, I just want to talk about the vision, the impact, the change that will happen when I'm elected mayor tomorrow. Tomorrow, folks, get to the polls, please. We need an outpouring of people at the polls. After tomorrow, we do not need to have the word said, this was not a good turnout. We don't need those words. Tomorrow we need an overwhelming turnout. And I guarantee you, based on what I'm getting ready to say also, that after a year in office, when you elect me, the numbers going to the polls are going to skyrocket, because you'll stop and you'll realize, man, we didn't know that we could have a community this good. We didn't know that everybody could eat. We didn't know that our children could get educated this way. And ain't nobody get shot yesterday. In a year's time, you'll stop and say, man, we can breathe. We can breathe. I'm not working 2 and 3 jobs just trying to pay my rent and my lights. Ain't nobody trying to force me out of my home. I got a grocery store I can go to. Fresh vegetables. It's time. It's time. So that vision. You know, we had a fish fry yesterday. It wasn't one of the Mayor Summy type fish fries, okay, trying to buy votes. And that's not what I do. I don't know. If I got to buy your vote, I don't need your vote. Or if I got to promise you a position in order to get you to support me, I don't need you with my team. And if you're somebody who is unscrupulous, I don't reward or accept bad behavior. No. That's why I put it out about my signs, about other signs that, for my people who supported me, don't bother other people's signs. If we got to cheat to beat, I don't want to win. Straight up. Because that's not the kind of image I'm trying to portray. You see, we got enough havoc going on with our community, within our community. And if you're leading from a place of injustice, if you're doing wrong in the leadership position and you're expecting it to trickle down into doing right, it doesn't work that way. I say that we need to make sure, and once I'm elected, this is what's happening, is that from the top down, bad behavior will not be tolerated. I don't care who it is, be it council, law enforcement, Ray Pookie and them on the block, Charleston County School District, the sheriff's office. I don't care. Bad behavior will not be tolerated, because it's time for us to come up. It's time for our women to be respected. It's time for our young brothers to understand that they are kings and princes. It's time for our school system to understand that they have an obligation to educate our children. It's time for law enforcement to understand that there are other people out here who might have a little knowledge about how to get guns off the streets other than those who have been to the police academy. It's time for those who have been behind the fence to be respected in the community as long as they're not reoffending. And it's time for a community and City Hall to ensure that they have every opportunity to stand coming out of the system. It's time for us to let our companies that are here know they have an obligation to be good neighbors within our city. You don't just come here, get the tax breaks, and then do what you want to do and give a little here and give a little there. No, what they need to do is to ask the city, how can we best help you? And we'll help you in the best way that we can. You see, from the mayor's office, there's going to be a wholesale change in attitude, activity, and the ability to have hope. A community that has lost hope a long time ago. I walk around North Charleston and I see brothers and sisters on the low end every day who walk with their heads down, with their eyes to the ground. They don't look you in the eye like men do or like adults do. They're broken. They've been in a system that has never done right by them. 25 years up under this same mayor. And there are people now who are adults now that were born under his watch and have never benefited by this system. And it's getting worse. And when we see the young brothers or sisters and you tell them, well, you need to be doing that, or just go into church or whatever. Well, the church ain't treating them right either. Church going in there talking about them instead of loving them. The scripture says to love your neighbor, not fix your neighbor. I'm going to let that sink in for all y'all church folks out there. It's Pastor Dixon saying that. In North Charleston City Hall, from the mayor's office down, we are going to love one another. People with criminal backgrounds, not repeat offenders, not those who continually don't take the opportunity that will be afforded them to get out of prison and stay out of prison. Those who have literally turned their lives around. We will fight. As the mayor of this city, and I know it's, once again, out of the purview, I will fight to ensure that when we say the debt is paid, for those that have been to prison, that debt is paid. You will not have to check that box. That's one of the first things we're going to do. Lester Young, where you at? That's one of the first things we're going to do is ban that box. Man, all that is another way to keep a brother down. And when I say a brother, I mean white or black. Doesn't make a difference. Check that box. No, we'll get rid of that box. And then I'm going to ask our corporations to start doing some things inside of the prison to prepare folks for exiting, including give them some work. So I got some ideas and some thoughts that's going to help us to come up as a people. Okay. When it comes to our single mothers, to be able to offer them programs for them to further their education, especially those that might not be working. If you want to further your education so you can help to educate your child and to participate at school, we're going to make sure that's available. We're going to do everything we can to strengthen our community. When it comes to our industry, I see Brother Nathaniel on here. It's SC Hip Hop 100. In order to make sure that our new artists out here in the hip hop community or in other musical genres have access to those who will help them through the process, the recording process, educate them so that they will be knowledgeable and won't be used by unscrupulous people within the music industry. Yes, I believe that a city government, I believe the city government needs to be that type of a figure for the people in the city. A government that's going to nurture the people along, not shut people down. We've had 25 years of shutting people down in North Charleston. It's time for a change. It's time, folks. It's time. We even have economic opportunities coming through a program that my good friend, I see Jermaine, you just popped on. Okay. The work that he's doing. Phenomenal. Dealing with hemp and hemp production. And as a matter of fact, speaking of hemp, when I'm talking about the cannabis side of it, we're not going to be targeting our African American youth out here for no literally small quantities of weed. We're going to stop that. Profiling our brothers and setting them up for prison because they got a small quantity of weed on them. No. You can say what you want to, and it's not being lenient on crime or anything like that. What this is standing up for the rights of people. We've got prisons that have been filled up unnecessarily by law enforcement officers who have decided that a small quantity of weed is reason to take somebody's freedom away. When the reality is that I've been out in that life for a long time. And unless it was dealing on the dealer level or dealing with large quantities of marijuana, I never seen anybody go in somebody's window or break in somebody's, house or whatever, or rob somebody for a small quantity of weed. Your casual users out here. I ain't never seen it. So this is just some real talk. This is some real talk from somebody that cares. Now, there's those who have been tossing up my past and all of this here. Let me just say something about that, okay? I'm trying to draw this thing to an end very shortly. But for those that have been bringing up my past, I hear there's some folks out here bad mouthing me because I've been to prison and carrying on. Even though I told everybody I've been to prison, I think that for those that have heard, if anybody on here has heard anybody tell you that they shouldn't support me because I've been to prison or because I have a past, even though for the last 19 years, the worst offense I've had with a law enforcement officer is a speeding ticket that I went to court and I took care of. Okay. And since then, I work along with police chiefs and sheriffs and everything, not only in Charleston, but throughout the state. But if those people have told you that, I want you to understand that if you know somebody with any kind of criminal background, they're not just talking about me, they're talking about you. If you got a parent that's been to prison, they're talking about them. They don't want to give you another chance. They don't believe in redemption. Those people are dirty. They grimy. They don't believe in redemption. They don't believe that a man's life can be turned around. Man, Jerry Blasingame, what's going on, my brother? For sure. Yes, sir. Soteria House and Working Families and Just Leadership and every other prison reform or group that I can think of. But see, having a distinct understanding of these issues, having been through these issues, but then for the last 19 years, I've been doing what the song says, trying to clean up what I done messed up. Having a marriage that's still together and going strong, 35 years of marriage, been together over 40. Many of you who are on this live right now, I met because you lost a loved one to gun violence. Been out here in the streets with you. Held your hands, gave a hug. There's nobody else in this race that has done that. So why would you think that any one of them would be a viable candidate to take the mayor's seat? You need a mayor that cares. And folks, I'm that mayor. I'm that one. So tomorrow's the election, folks. Tomorrow is the election. Tomorrow you can elect somebody who, when those that are behind that wall who have done some crime will be able to look, and they watch right now. They watch Pastor Dixon in that red scarf because they say he was one of us. And look at him now. And if he could do it, I can do it. Tomorrow we'll have a chance to elect somebody that has that kind of impact on a life. Tomorrow we have a chance to elect somebody that when you have a problem, even before now, out of all the people running for the office, who you call? Who do you know that you can call? And they will come to help. It's time to elect that same person. That same person who, and I'm not patting myself on the back, but I'm going to say this. It sometimes it bothers me, but when I walk into a space and there are people there, they seem to brighten up. They seem to look and see that red scarf and say, I don't know what it is. They smile. The eyes that were down start to look up. It's like the hope is back in them. And it's not me that does that. It's the fact that they can believe. They can believe that there's hope and that there's a chance. Kendra, I miss you. And I keep you in prayer too. Folks, we have got to do this. We don't have the luxury of waiting 4 more years. 4 more years we'll be missing from the south end of North Charleston, just as the city of Charleston has missed its poor and African American community for a little while. It's coming our way. Tomorrow we have a chance to really do the right thing and change this thing around. We just got to do it. We just got to do it. If you got any problems that happens at any of the polling stations, my number, I just gave it out. My number's on all of my pages. You know, folks, you don't have to ask me for my number. My number's right there. Transparency. Towner, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. You're one of the few people that have been out there in the streets giving me a hand, and I really, really do appreciate that. Boy, there's almost 2,000 signs put out there, and we didn't have no army of people, and that's for sure. We can do this. We can do this. When the polls close tomorrow at 7 o'clock, yes, point of order. I will be putting information out on my Facebook page about two things. First off, the toll-free number. If you got a problem at the polls, call those folks, because that's what they're there for, and they will help. They will guide you through the process, or you can call me. And secondly, we're going to have a watch party somewhere tomorrow evening. I don't know exactly where. All will be invited to come and sit and wait for the results to come in. We'll probably start somewhere around 7 o'clock or so and wait for the results to come in. Win, place, or show, no matter which way it goes, you're a winner. You're a winner because you stood with somebody who said enough is enough when it comes to the mistreatment of people. You're a winner because you've decided that the status quo is not acceptable anymore. You're the winner because no matter what tomorrow brings, Wednesday you'll have a chance to get up and say, okay, I'm still rolling with Pastor Dixon. And when he hits the streets, I'm going to hit the streets. Because we got school district problems. We got murder problems. We got pay problems. And each one of you will have a chance. Whether I'm in the mayor's office or not in the mayor's office, each one of you will have a chance to get involved. We all we got. Folks, we all we got. We've been sitting around for 25 years waiting on the current mayor to do something for us, and all he did was have a fish fry. If we sell out our kids and their education, our communities with gun violence, and the fact that we can't even make a living wage for a piece of fish, God help us. I'm going to keep reminding us about that. Stand with me as I stand for you. Dixon for Mayor, 2019. Tomorrow is the day. Polls open at 7 a.m. and they close at 7 p.m. Don't slack on this. Slacking on your pimping, there ain't no time for that right now. It's time for us to go hard, folks. It's time for us to go hard. As a matter of fact, going hard means continuing to blow up my timelines too. All of my pages. Please put your endorsements out there. Let the world know that you're standing with Pastor Dixon, tomorrow. And whether you live in this area or not, let the world know. Because this is all about the good that we can do together, man. I love you all. I love you all more than you know. And I will continue to fight the good fight of faith for each and every one of you. When I have the scarf that says enough is enough, I don't wear this scarf lightly. I do not wear the scarf lightly. Enough is enough. And we will keep on fighting until we put an end to injustice and bad behavior, no matter what level of society is, no matter whether it's in the mayor's office, in the council, in the school board, in the state house, in Congress, or in the White House. We are going to take this nation by storm, and we're going to do it so that people can be treated fairly and with equity and with pride. I appreciate you all. Carlton, good seeing you, chiming in. You all are amazing. Thank you so much. Tonight, before you go to bed, look in that mirror and say, yes, I am. Yes, I am. And know that in the end, you do have a champion that will fight for you. And I'm asking you to fight along with me, because we can win. We not only can win, we must win. It's time. Y'all take care. I love y'all. Peace out. We'll talk again soon. Holla at your boy. Let's vote tomorrow. Peace.